Hello, Joe.
Hi, Ray. What's going on?
Not much. Having a good day. Looking forward to speaking with you. How's your day going?
Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, I'm looking forward as well. Where are you coming out of?
I'm in the Bay Area, Northern California, a town called Pleasanton between
Oh,
Oakland and San Jose. How about
oh,
yourself?
wonderful. Wonderful. That's probably a perfect name for that region up there.
Yeah, it's nice. When that movie came out, Pleasantville, people are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Pleasanton, Pleasantville." But it was a great place to raise our family. It's you're in the midst of the Bay Area, but we really wouldn't know it. We have what I would call woods as a
Okay.
little kid, on either side of our town, and all that. So it's you get out, go on a bike ride, and you would think you're in the country someplace or something like that. So really, really nice. How about you? Where are you from today?
I'm in Kansas City, Missouri.
Ah, yeah, I knew that. My folks live in Leavenworth.
Oh,
Neighbors.
cool. The
Yeah.
the home of Melissa Etheridge and Amelia Earhart.
I knew Amelia Earhart. I didn't know Melissa Etheridge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's her
Wow.
hometown. And that one, yeah,
Really?
whenever the Chiefs are doing good, she's always like popping up and singing a song or doing something because she's local.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, she even lives in the area now still?
Well, no, I think
Yeah.
she blew out of the shack, but she always references it. It was a big part. I think she was here all the way through when she was, late teens. So it was a while.
I used to listen to a lot of her music. Oddly enough, I haven't listened to I'm gonna have to add some to some playlists as I
Yeah.
exercise and things like that. But I wouldn't necessarily call her a musical influence, but on my music. But now once I think about it, I for the last 8 years or so, I've been, my guitar playing has been almost all acoustic guitar playing, and
Yeah.
playing, taking, having that like heavy string beat that she uses a lot on some of her songs, and a lot of her songs have so much heart and emotion and
Oh,
soul into
yeah.
it. Yeah, good
Yeah.
music. Yeah.
Yeah, she's really
Thanks
good.
for reintroducing me to
Yeah,
Melissa Etheridge too.
totally. Totally. We're getting into it here. So
Yeah.
before we get into your very interesting existence as a musician, writer, and a cancer patient advocate, I want to know the last 3 years or so, 3.5 years living through this pandemic's been quite a thing. How did you get through the pandemic and how did it change you?
That's a good question, and I think I enjoyed staying at home. I lost my job very early in the pandemic. I was in retail technology, and the technology was for brick and mortar stores. And I'm a writer, a content marketer, and that business, we weren't going to be marketing and selling. Our customers were retrenching, and that company did retrench. So I lost my job there, but that gave me the opportunity to sit out on my backyard and type away at the keyboard and start a lot of different projects, and in being a cancer patient, when I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma in March of 2019, one of the things that it taught me almost right away is the perils of living the way that I had been living, and that was taking things for granted. Would take people for granted, relationships for granted, and time for granted. To give you an example, Joe, if I was thinking about you, one day I might be, like, oh well, I'll text Joe tomorrow. There'll be time, and I just kind of like puts those things off, and recognizing that we all have a finite lifespan on this planet, right? And what are the things I wanted to do? And I wanted to create more and more. So this interesting time period of me coming off of geez, I would have been diagnosed for just over a year. I would have been about 4 months removed from a stem cell transplant. I had time on my hands, so it got me into writing. And the pandemic, that time alone changed me to have time during my day. It's every morning with coffee and a avocado bagel, sitting down and just writing a little bit of something, whether it's a blog post, an article, if it's a little bit of a book. I've got many different books going at the same time. But, I think I was a bit of a procrastinator as a writer. Part of that was dealt with, what maybe wanting to be a perfectionist. But the other part of it was talking about, well, I can just do it tomorrow. Right. And, one of the mottos that I've adopted since my diagnosis is, if not now, when? If I'm not going to do today, when am I going to do it? And there's the fallacy, I think, amongst a lot of creatives is that, you got to get it all done today, or you got to do it all right now. That's not the case. When you writing a book, if you can punch out 250 to 400 words a day within a half a year or so, you've got a book. And if you can't write 250 or 400 words a day, you might not be a writer. You might be something else, right? So that's not a big lift. They don't have to be perfect words, because you're going to go back over it over and over and over again and refine it and edit, and then a professional editor is going to do it. But I think those are the things that the pandemic afforded me, coupled with my diagnosis, is reevaluate the way I've been living, and who's the guy I want to be. What are the things I want to do? What are the things that are most important to me? Do I want to be in a car and commuting and going around and doing something, or do I rather build the relationships and nurture the relationships that are more important to me, and do the tasks that get me the most reward, the most feeling of inner pride, sense of accomplishment, inner peace. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I hope so.
totally. Yeah, totally does. So let's get to the essence of you and what you do. If I put you in front of a bunch of third graders at a career day, and one of the kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
I'm a writer.
Okay.
I create content, but most of my content is written, a little bit of video content as well, and I'm a storyteller. And hopefully a third grader would really understand that. So whether it's working with a company as a content marketer, telling stories with a personal memoir like Me, Myself, and My Multiple Myeloma book, or telling stories like my first book, Immaculate: How the Steelers Saved Pittsburgh. It all comes down to telling stories and trying to engage with people. And for me, that medium is mostly through writing, songwriting, songs and video as well.
So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
Depending on what time of year it was, but I wanted to be a professional athlete, because what could be better than playing a game for a living, And so if it was football season, I want to be a football player, and if it was basketball season, I want to be a basketball player, and the like. But yeah, the idea of going to work in your sweats and and playing a game for a living certainly sounded great. And I don't think I'm a child of the 60s and 70s. I was born in 1964. We were promised our 15 minutes of fame by Andy Warhol, right? And so we just kind of say, oh, we're all going to play sports. But then when you're just get a little bit older, then you realize that, well, there's not a lot of professional basketball players, for example, right?
Right.
And back in the 70s, there were even less teams, so less players. I quickly transitioned, and then from there, wanted to find my way. Started out with investments and investment banking, and then wanted to do other things. Got caught up in organizational development, communications, and that kind of just led to a life as being a communicator, a storyteller.
So being a sports fan, if you could go back in time and see any game, any event with your own eyes, one thing, what would you see?
What a great question, man. Well, I'm wanting to say, Ali Frazier, the Thrilla in Manila, but it was
Yeah.
too hot in that arena. So,
Yeah.
I might not have enjoyed myself. But, the first book published was a story called Immaculate: How the Steelers Saved Pittsburgh. And it's co-written with a friend of mine, Tom Olenek. And that book, talks about this, the deindustrialization transformation of the city, and how it was difficult. And, when Pittsburgh needed its heroes, it found them in a really unlikely place, because for 40 years they'd been horrible. And what changed that the inflection point of them becoming a horrible franchise to a successful franchise was 1972 season, and probably best remembered by folks as the Immaculate Reception game. And I think because of my history with writing that book, I think I'd want to go back to December 23rd, 1972, Three River Stadium. The Steelers are trailing the Raiders 7-6. 20 seconds left, 4th and 10. And you end up with what's been called the most memorable play in NFL history. I
Yeah.
think that would have been it. Oddly enough, at that time I was a Dallas Cowboys fan, and I don't know if the 1972 Ray, the 8-year-old Ray, would have appreciated freezing himself in the
Right.
Pittsburgh Steelers stadium. Oh well, although the Steelers had not beaten the Cowboys in the Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowls yet, so maybe I would have been okay with it.
Yeah. Well, I was born on October 13th of 72. And anytime I have to show my ID, I always say I was around when Nixon resigned. But
No.
now I can say I was around for the Immaculate Reception.
So let me ask you, what sporting event in your life would you would go back to?
Dude, I would be right there. So I'm a Royals fan, and I've relished even the Chiefs and all this stuff. But when I was growing up, my dad was from Long Island, so I was a Mets fan. And I would be there for when Billy Buckner, when that ball went through his legs. I would just want to soak all of that shea up, all of that toilet paper flying. I would have been in euphoria. That's the moment.
Yeah,
And
that's a good one. Oh,
and
I think the very next night, there's the night that they actually won the series, right? In
yeah,
game
that
seven.
was it.
Yeah.
Game 7 was the next night. Yeah. So, and I had my friend from high school, he sells baseball cards at trade shows, and he gave me and my son a couple of boxes of baseball cards to open up. And I was going through it, and Billy Buckner actually played for the Kansas City Royals
Mhm.
in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And I was like, why didn't I go out and just see him? But I've always felt bad for the guy. And what and watching that had no reflection on all of the flack that he got, but just the improbability of that, because they literally, the Red Sox had champagne chilling. They were ready. They
And they hadn't won in a long, long, the curse of the Bambino, right?
That's it.
Uh,
That's it.
uh,
You know what's weird about that whole play is that Billy Buckner typically did not play late in the game because he had bad knees and he would hobble.
yeah.
It was another guy that was supposed to be in there, but they put Billy Buckner in because he was a veteran. So
Mhm.
he shouldn't have been in there.
Yeah, and he was such a great player. It's nice that I know that he's gone back to Boston. And, they've forgiven him. It was a tough time,
Yeah.
right? But I know they've won a World Series or two since then.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was he's such a great player, and played for so long in the Major League Baseball. And I mean, I think he's probably really close to 3,000 career hits.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. It's
interesting.
wild.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
should.
So
We if all we have to do, Joe, is invent the flux
that's
capacitor,
it. We got
and
it.
we'll go back in time and see some cool stuff.
We can see anything we want.
Uh,
So let me ask you this. Who's been a hero for you in your life?
oh wow, you're filled with good questions. I can tell you do this. A hero in my life. Again, it depends on what part of like my career. Like in my first guitar hero is Eddie Van Halen, which that goes really well with the fact that for the longest time all I wanted to do is be David Lee Roth, the first singer of Van Halen. That's been a hero. Kid growing up, I looked up to Muhammad Ali. I looked up to Roger Staubach, the coach, the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. As a writer, a person I really look up to is Stephen King. The
Oh yeah.
amount of work that he puts out, I haven't read that many of his books, but it's like, you turn your head and another book comes out, and they're not exactly little pamphlets, they're big ones. So how prolific that he is, and as a storyteller that he is. But I think those are some meaningful guys. People that there's a whole bunch of heroes I've discovered in the last couple of years that nobody else knows about, and those are cancer patients and cancer patient caregivers. Everything I've learned about cancer has really been learned through others, through support groups and the like. And anyone facing a severe illness, and particularly the people that take care of them, I think it's harder for them,
Yeah.
the caregivers and the things that they do. I know my wife, taking care of me through my stem cell transplant, with that, display of just unconditional love and all. Those are heroes, just much like to me, just much like a kid might look as a fireman, and a no-name fireman. We don't even know who that person is, but look at that hero. A guy that selflessly serves others. But yeah, good question. Thank you for asking that.
Yeah, absolutely. I just finished the biography. The manager for Van Halen wrote a book, Noel Monk.
Yeah,
And I don't know if you've heard or read it, but it was
I've read it.
fascinating.
Yeah, I've read that book. I always like the behind the scenes types of
Yeah.
things. Yeah, that was certainly an interesting book of an interesting time. I mean, that was the time. Well, he was the manager at the time when I discovered him early in their career,
Yeah.
and I remember the first time listening to the Van Halen one album. It's like, whoa, what is that?
Yeah.
And instantly it's like, man, I want to play guitar like that. Because
Yes.
I picked up my guitar. I wanted to be James Burton, the guitar player for Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
If I couldn't be Elvis, and I who can be Elvis, right? But maybe I could be
Yeah.
Elvis's guitar player. But when I heard the brown sound of Eddie Van Halen, it's like, well, there's a new guitar hero for me.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's
it's a good
it.
book.
So if you could meet anybody alive on the planet right now, who would it be? Who would you love to meet and talk to?
Bono of U2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd join you for that one.
Yeah, I'd like to sit and have dinner with him. He's had a tremendous career. The band has never lost relevance. They're gaining even more and more relevance. I saw him in October, I think it was, at the Sphere in Las Vegas. And that put on a great show. I've seen them a number of times. But Bono also is this philanthropist, and these leading these efforts. There's what he's done for like the entire continent of Africa, and going around and, asking countries to forgive debt. They're, most countries in Africa are so far in debt that there's no chance of getting out.
Yeah.
And Bono going around and speaking to government leaders like, hey, give these people a leg up, maybe, forgive debt, and,
Yeah.
how can we get aid to the right people instead of leaders of militias and things like that. So very interesting guy. Just, not only his politics, which I don't want to talk about like politics, like, left or right, conservative, liberal, but, his political acumen to help his causes, and the humanitarian causes behind him. I just think he's a super cool guy.
Yeah.
Love to have dinner with him, hanging
I
out.
agree. So
Yeah.
is the sphere mind blowing?
The sphere is really cool.
Yeah.
It's I think that, the band's kind of growing into it. With the show, it's, some learning pains on it. You don't have to have this magnificent visual display all the time, right?
Right.
So, selectively using it. So there's a lot of times at the gig where, there'll just be like pictures of the or video of the four band members, just like a typical video screen, at a concert. The acoustics are what blew me away. So, a lot of times, the PA at an arena is at the front of the house, and to get it to the back of the house, you just have to crank it, and it's cranked so loud that it's distorted, and also it hurts your ears. Man, I'm 59 years old,
Yeah.
musician and auto racing fan. My ears are bad enough as it is.
Yeah.
I didn't wear earplugs for the first time in a long time at a concert, because they have so many speakers. You can't see a single one of them. So many speakers around that the acoustics are so good. They don't have to crank up the volume to 140 decibels. It's probably 110 or 120. I'm taking a guess, and it's clear. It's a great place to listen to music. It's a wonderful place to watch and experience. So if your band ever plays there, it's worth the trip.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I need to do it. Yeah. So let me ask you this. Of all the things that you've done and overcome and become, what are you the proudest of?
Am I am proud of the opportunities that I can take to become a leader in the cancer community. There's I'm coming up on my 5-year mark with multiple myeloma, and for the audience members that aren't familiar with it, it's a blood cancer. It's incurable blood cancer, yet treatable. And so, I've been under treatment since March of 2019. And like I said, I learned a lot about, cancer through support groups, and people, trailblazers, have been there before. And almost immediately, I was like, you know what? I want to be one of those people. While I'm feeling good, while I'm feeling strong, I want to be able to kind of go out into the front and be able to reach back and help anybody that needs some help along the way, whether it's a patient or caregiver or an advocate or anything like that. So, I know that, people have reached back and given me a hand to pull me forward. And I know that there's going to be other times coming up where people are going to be doing the exact same thing for me when I need that helping hand. So when I can do it, how can I be a helping hand? So, I'm particularly proud of this new book, Me, Myself, and My Multiple Myeloma. It's available booksellers everywhere. It's a cancer memoir, but it's intended to act as a resource for patients and patient caregivers and their allies. And it's also a fundraiser. Net writers proceeds being pledged to the Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation. And so, I'm proud of, being able to, in my small way, be able to bring together the community, raise awareness, not just for multiple myeloma and other blood cancers, but raise awareness for serious health concerns. Any serious health diagnosis, particularly chronic health diagnosis, it's difficult, Joe. Man, I can tell you, my wife and I get inundated with regular mail, snail mail, paper mail in our mailbox. We get something nearly every day, and it's not just a page, it's multiple pages. In our healthcare system in the US, we have providers, we have pharmaceutical companies, and then we have the people who actually pay the bills, the insurance companies. And there's correspondence everywhere. And, so just that is difficult for an individual to get along by themselves. And so I like to raise awareness about that. Like, if you know somebody that is going through any serious health issue alone, reach out to them and offer to help in any way that you can. And a lot of times, patients aren't prepared to receive help. Maybe they feel that they don't need the help. A lot of times people don't know what to say. It's like, what am I going to tell Ray? I just started to get diagnosed with cancer. What am I supposed to say? Start right there. That's
Right.
the thing that I've learned. It's just like, hey, Joe, I don't know what to say. but I love you. I care for you. I want to support you. So I'm hoping we can just get through this difficult conversation, and together, we can collaborate and see what's the way we can move our relationship forward. So, start with that. I'm proud of, being able to do what I can, and to just keep, rattling the old hornet's nest, as it relates to the community to, let's get out there and let's help one another. We're all in this together.
Yeah.
We're all going to get something,
Yeah.
so, what can we do to make everyone's life just a little more fulfilling, a little bit more peaceful, that sense of inner peace
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you've been down quite a road in life, successes and overcoming and all kinds of things. So if you had a dream tonight, ran into the 20-year-old version of you, and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained in your life up to this point, what advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah, another excellent question. Advice I would give is, be more present in the moment. Life is fleeting, and pay attention to the people. It's the people that count. Even if you're an introvert and a loner and the like, it's still those everyone's got some relationships, or at least the relationships with yourself, and giving yourself a bit of a break or whatever. But don't take the people in your life for granted, and reach out and look for those folks, and chat with them. I have many times I fall victim to travel face. You know what travel face is?
I've heard of it, but I not yeah, tangentially.
You walk through the airport with just like, I want to get through security. I want to get
Yeah.
to my gate.
Yeah.
I want to get to my seat. I want to get, from my seat, I want to get to, this, that. And you just have a look on your face, right? Nobody's going to talk to you. It's like, look at that guy, like get the travel face away. If
Yeah.
you're at the, if you're at the fish counter at the grocery store, talk to the fish guy. He might turn out to be one of your best friends in a
Yeah.
couple of days, whatever.
Exactly.
So yeah, live more in the present. Try not to put things down, and treasure those relationships that you have, and look to get the most treasures, the most relationships. That's the real wealth, I think, is not looking at your bank account and see how many zeros are in there, but kind of going through your friends list, saying, who do I care about and who cares about me? And if there's a lot of folks in there, I think you'll feel a lot better about yourself.
Absolutely. So everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, readers, fans, but you ultimately live your life. You're in control. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Many times I think of myself as just a knucklehead. I have been a kid forever, and I love kids. And one of the things that I worry about is that we kind of ask our kids to grow up so quickly these days. I was afforded a childhood well into my 20s. And I've done things like being a junior achievement teacher, teaching business basics in 5th grade. And I look at the maturity level of a 5th grader going, wow. A lot of times those 5th graders are, basically de facto parents in the afternoon. If they're the oldest kid in the house, maybe they come from a single family home, mom or dad are working, they're like the boss. They're in 5th grade, they're 11. I'm like, oh, that's can't you just be a kid? So many times I have a perception of myself. I think I don't know what the root causes is, but like I'm a kid that's playing adult games. Sometimes a bit of a knucklehead, but I like to think that my perception of myself is a caring individual. I've become more and more caring. I've developed my emotional intelligence and my EQ level. I practiced it, over like the last 20 years. I was a late beginner in that. I think a lot of people were, the whole concept of emotional intelligence coming up, but not being growing up in an Army family, a cool, calm, and collected, kind of keep things close to our vest, but being more willing to open up. I'm a work in progress. It's okay to be emotional and to show your emotions and to share your emotions, and all those things are kind of like learned behaviors for me. I'm still learning, but yeah, maybe that sums it up. I'm a lifelong learner. Love to read, love to learn. So I think the perception of myself is learn, test, and experiment. Try things out. See if you like them. See if you don't.
Absolutely.
Try to
Ab-
improve.
Absolutely. So if anyone wants to pick up your writing, listen to your music, delve into your world, where can they go?
Yeah, streaming through any streaming platform for music, Ray Hartjen or the Chronic Padres, my current two-piece band. Books, the two books are Immaculate, How the Steelers Saved Pittsburgh, and Me, Myself, and My Multiple Myeloma. They're available everywhere that books are sold. And they might not be available at some clothing store, but it's certainly available when books are sold. Those would be places to get hold of it.
Right on. Ray, man, you're full of light, man. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity, Joe. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on the show. And keep doing what you're doing. It's great. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Have a great holiday.